We have Donald Trump Jr., who was in court again this morning. There he is. You hear the protesters chanting, crime family, and that is basically what these people are, a crime family, a very dumb crime family, the Gambozos, if you will, and...
What if a single late-night punchline could pulverize a billion-dollar brand? That's exactly what happened the night Jimmy Kimmel's Taco Man remix detonated on live TV, turning Donald Trump and his namesake heir into walking memes before they could even reload their outrage. In minutes, the clip shot across TikTok, Twitter, and every group chat in America, shredding years of manufactured bravado and exposing the fragile ego beneath the gilded facade. While courtrooms echoed with fraud allegations and protesters chanted crime family, a disco-flavored parody did what lawsuits, indictments, and primetime exposés had failed to do. It made the Trumps look ridiculous, and they couldn't stand it.
Don Jr., he's so embarrassing. He's on the stand, he's testifying in this $250 million fraud trial, and he has to compliment. He said his father is an artist with real estate. Yeah, he's an artist he's Vincent Van Gogh to jail with real estate.
Because when power trips over a joke and face plants in front of millions, the laughter isn't just noise, it's a verdict. And the meltdown that followed, that's where our story really begins. It started like any other Trump scandal, loud, chaotic, and weirdly theatrical. Donald Trump Jr. was back in court, this time facing a $250 million civil fraud trial. You'd think the pressure would tighten his focus. Instead, he took the stand and delivered what can only be described as an emotional fan letter to his own dad. "My father," he declared, "is an artist with real estate. Sure, and Van Gogh painted with invoices." Then came the now infamous Hotel Gym claim. Trump Jr. insisted his father didn't just build buildings, he revolutionized fitness infrastructure. "No one," he said proudly, "did hotel gyms like my dad." It was the kind of line that doesn't just raise eyebrows, it raises TikTok edits. And the internet delivered.
Boasted that his dad is the father of hotel gyms. He said maybe someone put a gym in a building somewhere, but no one did it at the scale of my father. He's saying that his father, the father of the hotel gym, is a guy who's never stepped inside one, okay? The amount of ass-kissing in this trial is insane. DJ TJ, of course, denies any and all wrongdoing and is instead going with the "our accountants did it" defense.
Within hours, clips of Don Jr. talking about his dad's gym legacy were mashed up with footage of elderly men struggling on treadmills. It was brutal. But beyond the bizarre praise, his defense strategy was even more surreal. When grilled about his role in the alleged fraud, Trump Jr. passed the blame like a hot potato. His logic? "We relied on our accountants. That's their job." Essentially, "Don't blame us for the crime. We hired professionals to do it."
I'm not supposed to rely on a big five accounting firm, like one of the biggest accounting firms in the world. I can pay them millions of dollars. I rely on them to do accounting, but I'm supposed to know more than them. By this logic, insurance companies are going to start suing patients for listening to their doctors. Right? You understand? Like, am I supposed to know more? Oh, Don Jr. doesn't know anything about it. I'm not an accountant. I'm a business guy.
I'm a business guy who had his elbows soldered together, and now I move my arms like a Muppet all the time.
That's when Jimmy Kimmel stepped in. On his show, he flipped Don Jr.'s logic into instant satire. "So if doctors mess up, should we start suing the patients?" The audience howled. The absurdity was just too rich. In one sentence, Kimmel took a complicated legal defense and exposed it for what it was: nonsense dressed in a suit. Don Jr.'s credibility didn't just wobble, it collapsed into a joke. And that joke was about to evolve into something way more dangerous than a one-liner. Because if the courtroom made Trump Jr. look clueless, what came next made him look like a punchline. The courtroom was a mess, but the internet was about to throw gasoline on the fire. Just as Trump Jr. tried to piece together his crumbling image, Jimmy Kimmel pulled out the big guns, a parody remix of the Village People's Macho Man, reimagined as Taco Man.
What have they been asking the kids, and tell me how they fit into all of this?
They don't fit into all of this. What have they been asking the kids? It's very simple. They'll ask the kids, did you give a value to somebody? Did you do something? And everybody said resoundingly no. And these kids did nothing wrong. They should not be in this case. Ivanka's already out of the case. The boys should not be in the case.
That's right. They're just boys. They're kids. Eric has a book report due this weekend. They're both still wearing pull-ups. They're on trial? I mean, come on.
It wasn't just a song, it was a tactical strike. With disco beats pounding and lyrics that mocked Trump's image, posture, and ego, Taco Man turned late-night comedy into a meme warhead. The crowd roared, social media detonated, and Trump, he absolutely lost it. Within hours, the remix flooded TikTok and YouTube. Creators everywhere stitched the audio into workout videos, chicken-themed dances, and skits featuring MAGA hats and AI-generated roosters. It wasn't satire anymore, it was a full-blown movement. And the internet wasn't done yet. A nickname began to spread like wildfire, one that hit harder than any insult shouted across a courtroom. TACO, Trump always chickens out.
He doesn't like the nickname at all. She asked it, he called it a nasty question, but it seems to be catching on. There's been an outpouring of taco-themed AI on social media featuring our Crunchwrap Supreme Leader in all manner of chicken garb, rooster hair, and this master five-piece family meal, all in celebration of our El Pollo Loco. How does it feel to be on the other end of the nickname game? Not great, does it? The only thing that would make it worse is if somebody changed the lyrics to a song by his beloved Village People to drive it home.
It wasn't just funny, it was branding. Suddenly, Trump wasn't the guy with a gold tower. He was the guy ducking late-night jokes like they were subpoenas. Twitter trolls made memes, TikTokers made dance trends, Reddit turned it into an acronym for cowardice. And Trump Jr., he tried to laugh it off, but every clip of him defending his father now had the Taco Man soundtrack playing behind it. The parody had stuck. It wasn't just a joke anymore, it was an identity crisis, wrapped in auto-tune and served with salsa. But the real damage wasn't just online, it was personal, and Trump's reaction made it 10 times worse. If you thought Trump might ignore the meme, let it die quietly and move on. Then you don't know Trump. Instead of brushing it off, he did what he always does. He erupted. During a press event meant to focus on policy, a reporter had the nerve to bring up the nickname.
Mr. President, Wall Street analysts have coined a new term called the taco trade. They're saying Trump always chickens out on your tariff threats, and that's why markets are higher this week. What's your response to that?
I kick out?
Chicken out.
Oh, isn't that nice? Chicken out. I've never heard that. You mean because I reduced China from 145% that I set down to 100 and then down to another number? And I said you have to open up your whole country, and because I gave the European Union a 50% tax tariff. 6 months ago, this country was stone cold dead. We had a dead country. We had a country people didn't think it was going to survive, and you ask a nasty question like that. And in many ways, I think we really helped China tremendously because, you know, they were having great difficulty because we were basically going cold turkey with China. We were doing no business because of the tariff, because it was so high. But I knew that. But don't ever say what you said. That's a nasty question.
Mr. Trump, how do you respond to being called Taco Man online? That was it. His face turned redder than his tie. He scowled. He called it a nasty question, ranted about fake news, and stormed off like a reality show contestant who didn't get a rose. The clip went viral instantly, not just because he lost his temper, but because he couldn't help himself. The internet had found his soft spot, and they weren't letting go. Now, every Trump reaction, every Truth Social post, every awkward public appearance was viewed through the Taco Man lens. He wasn't just a former president anymore. He was a character, a meme, a man whose legacy was now being remixed by DJs and dissected by TikTokers in between videos of dogs dancing to reggaeton. Even his supporters looked uncomfortable. Suddenly, defending Trump felt more like damage control than political passion. And when he lashed out again, this time accusing comedians of launching coordinated attacks, the story had already slipped from his hands. He wanted the joke gone. But every time he mentioned it, it came back stronger.
Remember the Academy Awards? I said how he's the worst host in the history of the Academy Awards. And this stupid guy goes up, and just before the Best Picture of the Year, the show is almost over. They're waiting for the Best Picture of the Year. He gets up, and he says, and his wife said, please don't do it. Please, darling, don't go out. His manager said, don't do it. I have to do it. He goes out and reads my truth to the entire audience right before the best prime time, the Best Picture. And it said basically, he is the worst host of the history. He reads the whole thing. And then I think he said something like, ha, 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 he thinks he bothers me, or some crap like that. I said, he's one of the dumbest human beings ever. He should have listened to his wife. What a dope.
And then, in a moment that blurred comedy and censorship, we found out just how far he was willing to go to kill the punchline. Here's where the joke stopped being funny and started getting dangerous. As Trump's fury boiled over, it wasn't enough to just rant online or snap at reporters. No, he went full presidential meltdown. According to a Rolling Stone report, Trump's White House made not one but two official phone calls to Disney, Jimmy Kimmel's parent company. The message? Shut him up. This wasn't just a temper tantrum. It was a sitting US president using the weight of his office to try and silence a late-night comedian. Think about that. Nuclear codes in one hand and a grudge against Jimmy Kimmel in the other. That's not politics. That's a crisis of ego. But Jimmy didn't back down. He did what comedians do best. He made it worse. For Trump. He fired back on air, saying, Trump usually pays people $130,000 to stop talking about him. He wanted me to do it for free. The crowd lost it. The punchline wasn't just hilarious, it was lethal. In one sentence, Kimmel mocked the Stormy Daniels scandal, exposed Trump's insecurity, and doubled down on the one thing Trump hates most: not being in control.
Stormy Daniels took the stand this morning, and for Donald, I can only imagine the nervous farting was off the charts. It was quite a day in court. We got mentioned in court again today, which is exciting. Your original statement, the signature on the original statement does not match the signature on this statement. And I went through my library of photographs of you to compare it to headshots that you have signed. And these seem to match the original statement. And
wow,
am I getting at anything? Did you sign this letter that was released today?
I don't know, did I?
Now, the censorship attempt itself became the new headline. Instead of silencing the joke, Trump had given it rocket fuel. And Kimmel, he didn't have to do anything after that. The internet took over. Trump had gone to war with a joke, and the joke was winning. But if that made him snap, what came next would completely unglue him, because the internet was about to bring in AI. If Trump thought a song remix was humiliating, the internet was just getting warmed up. Once the Taco Man nickname hit peak virality, creators did what they do best. They escalated it with AI. Suddenly, AI-generated images of Trump flooded the timeline. But these weren't flattering presidential portraits. No, he was decked out in full-on chicken armor, holding taco scepters with lettuce-wrapped shoulder pads like some kind of fast food warlord.
Taco, taco man.
Deepfake voiceovers had him declaring things like, I am the Taco King. I build the best tacos, maybe ever. The parody wasn't just visual, it was cinematic and relentless. Even more brutal, an AI mock interview with Elpo Trump, designed to look like a Univision segment, where digital Trump was grilled about everything from his marriage to his McDonald's diet. The questions were absurd, the answers even worse. In one segment, he admits his marriage is a hoax. In another, he says Hannibal Lecter is a tremendous man. It was like watching satire on steroids. But what made this different was the sheer speed. Within 24 hours, the AI floodgates had opened. Thousands of memes, dozens of deepfakes, and zero control from the man they targeted.
Buenas noches, and welcome to the Univision interview of Donald Trump. Mr. Trump, first question. Stormy Daniels say you have a chalupa that is very small. ¿Es verdad?
I do.
Me too. It's okay. Okay, next question. What would happen if you stopped eating at McDonald's?
They would be out of business. They'd be out.
Because you eat so much.
I do.
Me too. What about Melania? How would you describe your marriage?
It's a hoax.
Yeah, that seems right. I have to say, you look very orange today, sir. Some people say you look like an Oompa Loompa. What do you think of the Oompa Loompas?
They're energetic people. They have more energy. They're very smart. They're incredible people. They're passionate people. You know, it's always tough to generalize about people, but you can. You know, some people would say, oh, that's not good. It's not politically correct.
You're probably right. It is time to stop being so PC about Oompa Loompas. Great point, sir. Oh, I have another question for you. Can you tell me who's this?
That's Silence of the Lamb. That's Hannibal Lecter.
Do you know him?
He's a friend of mine. He's a tremendous man. He's been very loyal to me. I've been very loyal to him.
Next question. Who are these guys?
These are people that are very, very disturbed, very, very mentally ill.
Yes, they seem very bad and very ugly too. Anyway, thank you for inviting me to your very weird house. Before I go, I have a surprise. It is my honor to announce you have been named Mexico's 2023 Pendejo of the Year. You look great, sir. Like a real pendejo.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. That was my exclusivo interview with El Pendejo número uno, Donald Trump. Back to you in the studio, Tony.
Great work, Kimmel.
Trump wasn't just being mocked. He was being digitally rebranded, not by a network, not by a journalist, by the internet itself. And while he fumed in private, scrolling through rage tweets and probably throwing ketchup at the wall, something even more absurd surfaced. The White House had actually spent time and energy trying to get Disney to stop a comedian, while Trump was still president. This wasn't damage control, it was obsession. But while Trump raged at late-night jokes and AI chickens, the world kept spinning, and it started leaving him behind. While Trump was glued to his phone, raging over memes and remix videos, the world kept spinning, and not in his favor. Just as Taco Man was trending and AI parodies exploded, the Supreme Court quietly dropped a political grenade. Conservative justices questioned whether bans on AR-15s were even constitutional. The ruling sent shockwaves through the country. But Trump? He wasn't focused on real-world fallout. He was too busy reposting Truth Social rants about Jimmy Kimmel and complaining that no one respected him.
How weak and pathetic is a guy like that? The Tonight Show, which is dying. They're all dying. Where's Johnny Carson? Bring back Johnny. It made you appreciate, right, Uncle Sam? It made you appreciate the greatness of Johnny Carson. I go on his show, and he goes, is that your real hair? I said, yeah. He said, do you mind if I mess it up? So he grabs it, and he starts really going crazy, right? And everybody laughed, and it was a big thing, and it was a big hit. It was all over the place, and he got great ratings and all. And 6 months later, he went out because he was under pressure to apologize because he humanized Donald Trump. Do you remember? And he stood up and he said, I'd like to apologize. 6 months ago, or whatever it was, I messed up Donald Trump's hair and it humanized him and he became president. And I would like to apologize. How weak and pathetic is a guy like that? And his show died, but the other two shows are dying.
At the same time, Trump doubled tariffs on aluminum and steel, bragging about being tough on trade. But instead of strengthening American manufacturing, it backfired hard. Companies like Toyota, Volkswagen, and Nissan started pulling out. Where did they go? China. The president who promised to put America first accidentally built an America last supply chain. Factories fled, prices spiked, jobs vanished. And Trump? He was still yelling about comedians, calling Jimmy washed up and not funny. It was like watching a guy screaming at a mirror while the house burns down behind him. The contrast was impossible to ignore. While the country debated guns, trade, and global diplomacy, Trump was obsessing over a nickname. He wasn't making moves. He was melting down. He wanted to be seen as strong. But nothing screams insecurity louder than trying to cancel a joke. And the more he raged, the more the internet laughed. Because by now, Trump wasn't just out of touch, he was being left behind. And what that did to his legacy, that's the final nail in the coffin. By this point, Trump wasn't just mocked, he was defined by it. Every rant, every angry post, every attempt to fight back only made the meme stronger.
The word is, and it's a strong word, that Jimmy Kimmel is next to go in the untalented late night sweepstakes. And shortly thereafter, Fallon will be gone. These are people with absolutely no talent who were paid millions of dollars for, in all cases, destroying what used to be great television. It's really good to see them go, and I hope I played a major part in it.
His legacy wasn't being debated in political circles anymore. It was being rewritten in TikTok captions and Reddit threads. Don Jr. was still fumbling through interviews. Eric was nowhere to be found. And Trump? He tried to clap back on Truth Social, calling Kimmel irrelevant and unfunny, but the post itself read like a cry for help. I guess he hits me all the time, so I figured I'd hit him. That's not a statement of power. That's middle school energy from a former president. Meanwhile, Kimmel didn't even need to respond. He just smiled. Because sometimes silence is louder than a scream. Trump had gone from leader of the free world to background noise in his own downfall. His allies began to pull away, whispering what everyone else was already thinking. The emperor has no clothes, just memes. And while he obsessed over Taco Man remixes, real leaders were focused on diplomacy, gun policy, and economic recovery. Trump wasn't in the room anymore. He was on the screen, looped in a parody, turned into a character. He wasn't feared. He wasn't respected. He was laughed at. And the punchline was this: he did it to himself. Because when you can't take a joke, you become one. And once that happens, no amount of power, money, or legal muscle can save your image. The internet moves fast, but the scars it leaves behind, those last forever. And the final twist? The real danger in all this wasn't the joke. It was how far Trump went to silence it. This story might sound like a late-night comedy bit gone viral, but underneath the laughs is something darker. Something that should make every viewer pause. Because this wasn't just about a joke. It was about how fragile power becomes when it can't handle being laughed at. Trump didn't just rage against parody, he tried to erase it. Not with better arguments or public support, but with phone calls, pressure campaigns, and public tantrums. He weaponized his influence against a comedian. A late-night host made fun of him, and he responded like he'd been attacked by a foreign leader. That's not leadership. That's insecurity with executive authority. And that's the chilling part. Because if a nickname like Taco Man can send a former president into a meltdown, what happens when world leaders challenge him? Or journalists, or protesters? We've seen how he reacts to dissent. January 6th wasn't an accident. It was a warning. Jimmy Kimmel didn't just get under Trump's skin, he exposed how thin that skin really is. And the more Trump fought to silence the punchline, the more it spotlighted his fear of being seen as weak. This wasn't about comedy anymore. It was about control. A leader who can't take a joke is a leader who can't take criticism. And when someone with unchecked power starts treating satire like sabotage, democracy starts to rot from the inside. So no, this wasn't just a remix. It wasn't just a meme. It was a mirror. And when Trump looked into it, he didn't see strength. He saw Taco Man, and the whole world laughed. Because in the end, all it took to peel back the gold plating was one viral joke. If you guys liked today's video, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.